Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the SIMGOT EM2R, and to be honest, I've been sitting on this review for a few weeks, mainly because of this reason. They had emailed me and said, hey, why don't you delay the review for a little bit and remind people that we are going to have a fall Prime deal on Amazon US. For those of you who are big Amazon guys, you'll know that this week is the huge Amazon sale on October 11th and 12th. And SIMGOT is actually participating in the same sale, so they'll have 20% off of this set, the EM2R, which will be about $87.92 instead of the $109. So, if I had reviewed this a week or two ago and someone had purchased it at $109 and then a week later it was $87.92, I would be a little sad. So I didn't really mind waiting and doing them a favor and, remind people that on October 11th and 12th, which is another day or two away from now, that they will have this on sale. So the EM2R, up close and personal, kind of looks like this. It actually says SIMGOT High Resolution. There's a dynamic driver. There is also a balanced armature, which we cannot see. And it says two-way hybrid, kind of referring to the balanced armature and dynamic driver hybrid configuration of this set. The cable is actually a nice silver-plated copper in 2 cores, nice type braiding, nice hardware and accessories. So all that is quite nice for the $87.92 price. For those of you who are into packaging, this one has a nice lady on the front. Whether it has a lady on the front or not, I tend to throw boxes in with the rest of my boxes. But here's what the inner box looks like. Again, very nice design, high quality packaging. More stuff on the inside. This is a warranty card, which also has the lady on it as well. So nice if you're into warranties. Again, you get a very nice carry case, which is kind of right up there with the price that it costs, and a nice commemorative coin or so. A button for your jacket or backpack. I'm not sure what to do with that, but and then there's some tips and other things as well. So there you go. That is a nice looking packaging and accessories kit for the EM2R. So the sound, what does it look like on the graph? You can kind of see this is a pretty nice looking bass shelf. It kind of bumps out the sub bass here, so lots of energy here, kind of drop down pretty quickly before you hit the mids. So keep your mids kind of nice and clean. Remember, this is a hybrid, so this is kind of dynamic driver transitioning into your balanced armature. So nice clean mids, rise to about 9 or 10 dB right there. Then they poke up at about 5K, 4.5K, which they maybe shouldn't have, and then carry over a little energy through your mid treble and then kind of roll off slightly early, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, it's not a bad hybrid signature. More of a fun than natural signature. So let's kind of jump right into it. So 1DD, 1BA hybrid style tuning. Choose your path. And this one, I've talked about this a couple times. So you can either do a tight cohesive set where 2 drivers sound as one. The balanced armature tends to be tuned down towards the dynamic driver. So give it sort of a lower key, more bassier sound to the balanced armature. Don't let it rise too much through the treble. And you end up with, dynamic driver and a balanced armature that are almost seamless from one to the other one. Then there's the loose cohesive, and that is sort of you tune the DD and a BA. They're similar, but they sort of retain the speed, edge, and detail of the BA. So you sort of merge them together, but keep the BA characteristics sounding like a BA. So don't down tune it as much as you would in a tight cohesive. Don't worry as much about that seamless transition from the dynamic driver to the balanced armature, but focus on detail and speed and that edge that you get from a balanced armature, and really kind of bringing out the best of both drivers is how I sort of describe that. And the drawback to that is it sounds more like 2 drivers and some BA timbre, which is essentially what you kind of get here. So the EM2R is this looser and tuned for people who prefer the DD to support the BA. And the BA texts are the primary interest here. That's speed, detail, resolution, separation. Those things that you look for in balanced armatures are sort of what they focused on. And again, that's probably that little peak at 4.5 to 5K to really emphasize that little bit there. So the sound, more fun, energetic than natural V-shape, like I said. It's got a pretty nice bass shelf. Kind of has a nice little sub-bass ramp to it. Then it drops down quickly into flatter mids, and then you bump up again for the V-shape. So that bass, again, is kind of this fun bass level. Not a ton of mid bass here to add a whole lot of warmth, but lots of energy out here. Drop down pretty quickly. So fun bass level, retains some control, and is kind of kept in check by that 2 to 5K. So this whole pin gain area is kind of slightly on the brighter side, and it really balances against this side. So this actually looks kind of steeper than it sounds, just because this is really contrasting and balancing that out. It definitely rumbles harder than it slams, but pushing the rise to the sub bass keeps that mids clean, and not much warmth is passed right into the mids. The shelf looks big, but drops off quickly with almost no bleed. And again, no bleeding, clean mids, detail, edge, speed, all those things that you're looking for in a balanced armature. They really try to keep those present on the EM2R. So the mids, that big bass transitions right into clean, clear mids. It sounds like a DD to BA transition should be. If you want your balanced armatures to sort of sit right above the dynamic driver, like I said, this isn't a really smooth transition between the two. This is more about the dynamic driver supporting the BA, so it hangs a bit lower. The BA rises a little bit above, again, to make sure your BA characteristics are coming through. The DD does provide that low foundation for it, and it's definitely not bass shy at all, but the BA is definitely layered on top to add in that detail and resolution and separation, clarity, all those things that you look for in a hybrid, the things that are harder to find in a single dynamic driver on its own. That's sort of where they are tried to hit with the EM2R. So the balance is a bit off as the bass drops off kind of fast without much warmth. And then it rises a bit early into 2K and then 5K as well. So you end up with a little brightness and thinness to the mids, taking them off in natural. And that's exactly why I said the sound is a little more fun than natural. It just, as I said, throws the balance off a little bit. So they sort of had the right idea, add a little more bass, balance it out with a little more pin gain. But this probably should have been cut across, because this just adds a sort of an unnatural peak to it in a place, and that works for certain instruments, but for vocals, it tends to pull them off in a little brighter direction, a little thinner direction, and then you sort of get the same effect by carrying this out without dropping it down a little bit. You sort of just end out with a kind of a block of treble there that's a little more distracting than natural. So got that. So great for detail fans, though, if you're really into, like I said, those BA characteristics and hearing those go through and you don't mind the BA timbre, then that's sort of what they did for you. So the treble, like I said, it starts off strong with that lower treble focus. It rises a bit early. This is, that's about a 2K rise. So this is sort of noticeable because it's going to be quite forward. And then to peak out again is even more noticeable. So I think treble started off in that lower bit is really strong, and it keeps boosted through that mid treble. But the lower treble, that 5K, and then the bass, they tend to mask the whole upper level on the treble. And it's really harder to hear that higher treble over everything else. So you hear kind of to about here, and then when this drops off, it's really hard to get the air and some of that top end on instruments. You're hearing just a ton of this, which is okay, and that's kind of fine. Maybe at the price point, it's okay for one DD and one BA. It's okay, but for those of you who are really keyed into instruments having lots of air, this one doesn't quite get there, simply because it's very hard to hear it over this and this at the same time. So good balance between the two, but the side effect is right there in the upper treble. So same thing here. So stage, it's just very average. The treble, if the treble flattens the stage for you, if you've noticed that higher treble sets have very flat stage, this one does exactly that for me. And it's mostly in the head between the ears, and it lacks the height. And again, a lot of it is just this balance in the treble. It's really hard to have so much of a focus here, drop this off a little bit early, and retain a lot of the bigger stage psychoacoustics. You know, a lot of the frequencies here aren't really going to come through and give you that sense of bigger stage. So that's what I got on EM2R. Again, Jedi Mind Trick fall prime sale this week is the big prime sale, so do check out the EM2R as well as whatever other sets SIMGOT has on sale at 20% off. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.